oversee that.
It's good you come to see what he does here, huh? Every. There you go.
She's like, have you guys been having this like every week?
Yeah.
Every week. And I'm like, no, Mary, we only do this like once every other month.
Only during the summer when there's golfing.
Some reason hunting season, it's multiple times a week.
Yeah, that's true.
And all day long
We have to
sometimes.
meet very often in the fall.
Council retreats, like every weekend, right?
Right. All right, yeah, the clock's a little off. We would like to welcome everyone this evening to Mapleton City Council meeting on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. We'll begin with an invocation offered by Councilman Garrett and led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Egbert.
Our Father in heaven, we bow before you this evening. We are grateful to be able to gather together this evening as citizens for thankful for the wonderful blessing it is to live here in Mapleton. We're grateful for this Christmas season and pray that God bless us so that we can become more selfless and think of others and enjoy this season. We're grateful for Mapleton City and this community and the wonderful people here. We pray that God bless each of them, help them to be strengthened and guided in their lives. Bless them, bless those who are suffering and bring them comfort and protect them. We pray for these things now in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Please join me in saying that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll begin with our public forum. We have one individual who signed up. Mr. Lee Nelson, if you'd like to come forward and address us now, that'd be great.
I've been to a number of meetings over the years, and there's no one's ever addressed the subject that I'd like to talk about tonight. That's really dear to me. On early in the morning of October 28th, at 1 in the morning, I wake up and I'm pain across my chest and the top of each of my arms, quite severe. And I wake my wife up, Sharon, she's sitting right here. And she, understanding how stubborn I can be, says, get dressed, we're going to the hospital right now. And she starts getting dressed, and so I do, but she's off in the bathroom or something, and it gets worse. Never felt anything like it. And I didn't think about it. I just picked up my cell phone and dialed 911. And I gave them my phone number. And according to the records over at the fire department, it took them 8 minutes from the time I made the call to 911 to be at my front door. And there was a fire truck out at the end of the driveway. I'm not sure why they were there. But they sat me down, tore open my shirt, and without shaving any hair off, to cause as much pain as possible, they put these little electrodes on me and did an electrocardiogram. And it probably didn't take them 2 minutes. They asked me, tell us your pain, 1 to 10. And I said 7. And so they stuck a little pill under my tongue and gave me a little white one to swallow, and that started to ease that up a little bit. But they probably weren't there 5 minutes, and they said, you're having a heart attack. We're on our way to the hospital right now. And they got me out had the ambulance right by the front door, and got me settled in there. And I thought, from everything I've ever known about EMTs and ambulances, these guys were just going to drive me to the hospital really fast. And they said they were going to Utah Valley Hospital. But when it first happened, she said, we're going to the hospital. She meant the Spanish Fork Hospital. And we were going to drive down in our Toyota. And that was our plan. But when the pain got worse, I just dialed 911 without even thinking about it. So these 6 guys are at my door. It took them 8 minutes to get there. They give me an electrocardiogram, and 2 or 3 minutes later, and then we're on our way to the hospital. What I didn't know, I was receiving a lot more than just a fast ride with a siren. One of the EMTs called ahead and told the hospital they were bringing in a heart attack patient. Right, they'd be there in less than 10 minutes. And so they got the right doctor and the right crew in place to deal with the heart attack. All that was waiting the minute we got there. And then another call was made to Dr. David Cragen, lives over here on the hill. He's a cardiologist and a surgeon. And so my wife was following the ambulance, and not very far behind her, David Cragen was coming along, the surgeon. And we get there to the hospital, and the medication was helping, and they said, "What's your pain?" And I said, 3, and they were pleased, and then I passed out. My heart stopped beating. Some fibrillation. They said if the fibrillation stopped, we couldn't have saved your life. And so they start shocking me because everything was in place, all the stickers on me and everything, because they got their jumper cables, and that's what was happening. In fact, when I woke up, the first thing they asked me, "What's your pain?" And I said, 0. I don't feel any pain. And then I said to the doctor, what's wrong with all this going on? How could I fall asleep? And he said, "You didn't fall asleep. Your heart stopped, and you weren't living, and we had to shock you." And that's when I found out that they were doing that. And so they quickly put me on a cart. The doctor wasn't there. They said he was upstairs in the... Yeah, in the lab where they put in the... I can't think of the word. The stent lab. And so we were up there within a couple of minutes. And I get in there, and it's really, really cold. And I guess that's what they do in surgery. They make it cold. And I mentioned something about that, and he says, "Oh, I can fix that." He had a big needle in my wrist already. And he says, "I got to put dye in there," and it felt like he was squirting boiling water into my arm. Oh. And then I don't remember anything else. And 15 minutes later, I was in recovery. And he had the stent totally in place. He goes clear up this arm into the heart. It's called the Widowmaker artery that was blocked, and put the stent in, and that was it. And I started thinking, if we had got in the Toyota and driven to Spanish Fork to the wrong hospital and arrived at ER unannounced, there's probably some doctors there treating COVID patients, and maybe a lot of COVID people down there, and maybe nobody to handle my heart situation. And then according to Utah Valley, they would have made the decision, "Oh, you got to get over to Provo, to that hospital." And then they'd have probably put me in an ambulance. But the 2 procedures I needed to save my life I received those within minutes instead of what could have been hours. And had it been different, and had we gone in our own car, I wouldn't be here today. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought those wonderful EMTs. They were to our house. On their record, it showed 8 minutes from the time I dialed 911 until they were at my door. And then as I think about it, if they hadn't made those quick and firm decisions, knowing exactly what to do, nothing was delayed. Everything happened just as fast as it could happen, and I'm here today. But then I get thinking, wonder if they weren't on duty at 1 o'clock in the morning. It used to be we'd hear the siren go off over at the city hall, and then all the EMTs would run into the firehouse, and then they'd get in the ambulance and go. And it could be 20 minutes when we'd hear the ambulance leaving the city hall. But they were there 8 minutes after I made the call. And then I get to thinking, well, there must have been some good decisions made on funding, on having multiple first response crews and having them available around the clock. And we live a block away. And we've talked about living up in the mountains and on some this ranch or that ranch. And no, we were close enough that it made a difference. And I totally believe it saved my life. And that was partly your responsibility to make those good decisions, to have that kind of professional help available on a 24/7 basis. But I apologize to you. All I thought about was the EMTs, and as soon as I was up on my feet a couple of days later, we went over to See's Candies in University Mall, and I bought the biggest box of chocolates available, and we took it up and gave it to the EMTs. I should have brought one here tonight for you too, and I apologize for that oversight, but to them I said, thank you, thank you, thank you, and that's what I say to you too, because this is where it all starts. And you made some decisions that saved my life, and who knows how many others. So just thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Lee, thank you. Thanks for coming this evening and explaining that. I don't know if Chief Glasgow's had a chance to hear this story. Chief, do you know?
Yeah, I think you've met with Chief Glasgow in the last week, if I'm right, over at the fire department.
Yeah, we went over there.
Yeah. When you started, I heard him text him, said, turn on council fast, so I think he's probably listening right now, so thank you for that story. And we're glad to see you standing there, too.
Well, I thought maybe some of them would be here tonight, but that's fine. I sent them brought a nice long letter to them that I delivered with the candy, and but just from the bottom of my heart, what a blessing that we live right there and had that kind of immediate service, and that made all the difference in the world, minutes instead of hours.
Well, I just met Lee for the first time before the meeting and knew of Lee but never met him. And the reason I knew of him is because his 4th of 8 children work in my office. And he's a stud, just a great person. And he's told me stories about him going hunting with his dad and doing certain things, and he's explained where he lives, and I didn't know that you were the one on October 28th, so that's a cool story. And
anyway, I look at all of you as my friends and people who have helped save my life, and well, I sincerely believe that.
It's those people out there that put the time in for the trainings and do all that, and really, we do owe a big thank you to, Chief Glasgow.
Yeah.
He pushes hard to get things in order and do things right, and he takes it serious and understands what it's about at the end of the day is saving people's lives, and that's what we want to accomplish. And the decisions that are made on that behalf has that goal in the end.
Quickly and firmly and
always.
decisively, and everything just one after the other, but I just had no idea the other things they would do besides give me a ride to the hospital, having the crew ready to receive me when I got there, having the doctor right behind us, dragged out of his bed at 1 a.m. To get in that lab and get the stent ready, and it just all happened so fast.
What's interesting is the 7 heart surgeons in that group, 3 of them live in that area right there. One of them's retired, and that one that you're talking about, David Cragen, he bought my old home, the home I built there, the first home I built Mapleton, and he's a great person and great family, and I'm telling you, there's just a lot of people that don't realize how lucky we are. There's several trauma surgeons that live in the area. There's also the bunch of ER docs and the heart surgeons that live right here in Mapleton. And all I've heard from Spanish Fork City Hospital staff and the new staff that they've hired and the ones that have come to from Utah Valley, how cool it is that we have these people right here this close to us. And, it's proven.
Yeah, when I talked to him the next morning, I said, well, did you ever get any sleep? And he said, no, I did 4 that night. Yours was the first, and they just kept coming in, and I stayed here all night, and what service that is. And
we really appreciate you coming and sharing that story, Lee and Sharon. We're glad that Lee's still here with us, and I know your son Russ is too, and all your other 7 children, and we appreciate you. If there's something we can do for you, let us know.
Well, you've done a big thing for me, that's
awesome.
For sure, and my family.
Awesome.
A bunch of the grandchildren had letters with the chocolates that we took in,
and
so
pictures
cool. of me in the hospital bed, those kind of things.
So cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas. All right. We will now go forward with our consent agenda items. Approval of city council meeting minutes and the consideration of the resolution regarding the voter participation areas. We'll look for a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones and a second by Councilman Lundberg.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Jones, yes.
Lundberg, yes.
All right, we have one action item. Consideration of resolution authorizing Mapleton City to enter into a contract regarding employee commercial workers' compensation. Corey?
Mayor and council, and actually, just a couple of notes too. The two public hearing items we're asking for a continuance on.
Oh, we
this
got to
evening.
continue those?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hope you're okay with that, and if there's anybody watching, they'll know that those two items are being continued. So that'd be item 3 and 4 of the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to continue items 3 and 4 until the next scheduled city council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Lundberg and a second by Councilmember Jones.
Egbert, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Jones, yes.
Lundberg, yes.
Carlson, yes.
We'll do items 5 and 6. There's be 2 action items.
Okay. Yes, all right, we'll go to action item. First action item, number 5, consideration of a resolution authorizing Mapleton City to participate in settlements regarding a number of pharmaceutical companies' involvement with the opioid epidemic. Corey?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm sure you've been following this for the last couple of years, and some of the things have been taking place within the United States regarding this topic. As you're probably aware, recently the state has agreed to a settlement. The scope of the money is dependent upon the number of cities and counties that participate in that. The state has been reaching out to us through the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and the league is also supportive of cities being a part of this settlement. I have been talking to a few other cities to see what they're going to do. There's a lot of mixed opinions on that. Some want to stay on their own, and others are saying they would like to just follow the lead of the state. Recognizing, you can see that in the staff report, if we do go with the state, which as a staff, I'm recommending that we do, it's possible that we might not receive direct funding from that settlement. But what it does do is it shows our community that we do support this, and we would like to see that this tragic effects from this epidemic or this crisis can be resolved. And so with that said, staff recommends that we enter into this resolution and support the state and enter into that settlement with them. I did Spanish Fork City is doing the same, so I did reach out to them to see what their thoughts were on it as well. So, if you have any questions for me? I know I'm sure you've been following that. There's actually been a couple of newspaper articles just within the last week with this topic. So,
I just want to be clear that I understand what you're saying. Some of those cities who may not participate in this settlement, by not participating, they're reserving the right to pursue their own claims. Is that accurate?
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yep.
At what date do we have to be 10,000? Is it in the past or is it in the future? Is it the time of the court settlement? Or do you know? Because we're almost 10,000.
We're past that now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're over, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I'm not very current then.
Yeah. We're probably hitting somewhere around 13,000
13, huh?
population-wise. Yeah.
Where have I been?
Any other questions? This is not a public hearing item, but
I think one of the important things to note is a city of our size, most of our investment in treatment programs and things like that would affect our city would go to the county level anyway. So it's not necessarily that we would be losing money. It's just that we're supporting a broader community initiative. So
yeah.
I
And well, no,
support it.
that is a good point. I do want I have talked with the county. They're still trying to decide which way they're going to go. They said by the end of the week they would decide on that. So Utah County might not enter into this settlement. But Jessica hits on or Councilmember Egbert does hit on a point. I also, one of the concerns I had is obviously we don't have a legal team here that could go and fight this cause for us on a daily basis. So when the date is said and done, I think it'd be difficult for us to receive any money or funding from them.
Yeah, I don't see it's likely that we would pursue our own claims by any means. I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's other questions or comments.
I don't see a reason to make any other claims. I mean, this is the easiest way to go about it, I think.
Right. It lets our community know that we're certainly recognize and support what the state's wanting to do here.
And this doesn't preclude a citizen from doing something, does it?
Correct. Correct.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing Mapleton City to participate in settlements regarding a number of pharmaceutical companies' involvement with the opioid epidemic.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Garrett.
Garrett, yes.
Jones, yes.
Lundberg, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Great. Our last item is action item, consideration of a resolution authorizing Mapleton City to enter into a contract regarding employee commercial workers' compensation. Corey.
Hey, Mayor and Council, in regards to this one, as you can see from the staff report, we currently contract with the Utah Local Governments Trust. We've been with them for a long time. We've appreciated what they've done for us, and they've done a good job over the years. With that, as you can see from the staff report, each year in the last, especially in these last few years, our workers' comp premium costs have went up significantly. And recognize that those cost premiums are based on, it's pretty specific. It's based on the classification rate for the type of employees that we have and what work they do. It's also based on the claims history, and that's the big one. So them are the unknowns. You never know what's going to come year to year. You keep your fingers crossed, but we have had a couple in the last couple of years where there's been some cost involved based on those claims. And then just our payroll. With that said, as we were seeing those costs go up each year and talking with other cities as well, we thought it would be beneficial for us to get a couple bids. And so we did. We got a bid, one from the Local Governments Trust and then the other one from WCF Insurance. Where we're seeing that within these next 2 years on the bids that have come in, we could save ourselves approximately $10,000. It's $9,888, kind of what it's looking like. We're still kind of working on the final touches with each of these groups. That we would like to finalize this by the end of the year so that we can start in January with whichever of the two we choose. What I would recommend this evening that we do would be to just motion for approval and go with the lowest bid. And then that will allow myself and the mayor to kind of make the final decision as we work with these two groups in this next week. But either one we go with would do a great job for us, so I'm not worried that way, just basically finalizing those bids. But the trust will go down with the bid that they submitted. Yes, Councilman?
Sometimes I don't like to take the lowest bid, and there's reasons. I don't know if that, but I've never played with workers' comp.
Yeah. Yes, you're correct. There is times that's the case. In this one, either of those companies would do a great job for us. So it's not
reputable enough.
Yeah.
I assume, but I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, there is times where we'd say, hey, let's go with the higher bid for these reasons. In this particular situation, both of these groups would serve us well and take care of us, and that's why I'm looking and saying let's just go with the lowest bid. Again, recognizing that this will change year to year based on your claims.
Mm-hmm.
What is the highest risk position that we have, or the risk area that we have among the city employees?
The most costly or the highest risk?
I guess the highest risk which would require the highest premium.
Yeah, so I would probably say it's probably in Public Works with trenching and things like that, streets.
I would too, but I was just wondering if anybody
That
knew.
classification's probably the highest per thousand.
Yeah, with it, I mean, we've had one recently where one of our police officers had to break up a fight and
right.
felt bad for them. They got right in the middle of that and had, based on that, had some injuries from that. So it's, yeah, you never know what's gonna come our way. The key for us, though, is once a claim comes in, we want to look at it and say, could we have prevented that? What could we have done differently? And I commend Camille over the years that she's kind of one coordinating this, is making sure our employees are doing the best they can, knock on wood. But I've felt the claims that we have seen are, been ones that they've tried their best not to, or to try to avoid. But any other thoughts on that, Camille, that kind of address that?
Claims have been low. They only, in 2017 and 18, we did have a couple claims that were high. And one of those is dropping off this year, and then next year another one will drop off.
Yeah, that's what's kind of crazy with
They
it,
lag
too.
for
is-
3 years, so if you have one, then you pay the premiums over the next 3 years increase, and then they drop off.
Yeah, and you look at it, it's crazy. It's the one was just one claim that was costing us. So it's just one particular situation, but.
I'll make a motion to approve, make a motion to approve or to authorize Mapleton City to enter into a contract regarding employee commercial workers' compensation and to accept the lowest bid received.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Jones, and a second by Councilman Garrett.
Jones, yes.
Lundberg, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Great, thanks, Corey. All right, before we do administrative reports, we've got a little, somebody served some time here. I gave him a lot of gray hair. Right, Mary? It was not that gray when he started this.
It was black, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. I'll blame it all on Corey. He's been here the longest. He's losing his, he's getting all gray. That's not a good sign. We may all want to, welcome. Yeah, Casey, that's right. That's right. That's right. So we obviously, Jim, this place is a different place because of the service you've given, your heart you put into this. You've done a lot of good here and fought a lot of battles and drawn out, stuff that's you've given a lot of input to, and everything that I've seen is you've served on behalf of the city for what's best for the city. You've always had the best interest of the city when you made decisions, when you've, pushed us to do certain things, and for that we're grateful. The whole city is grateful for your service, the time, your efforts, for us being able to leverage that lawyer mind up there, Sometimes it's a little crazy. But it's made a huge difference in our city, and we are certainly extremely grateful.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. It was great to serve with you, and it's been great to be here. I've had a great experience and intend to stay involved in the city, and don't hesitate to ask for any help that you may need, because I want to be involved. I want to continue to serve this city because it's an amazing community. So thank you.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable about being out here. I got plans. So let's, we've got something for you. And I was thinking earlier, what better exit could you possibly ask for than to have Mr. Nelson stand up here and share. I mean, if we're not doing that, what are we doing? Right. If we're not about serving the people and about making a difference in people's lives, everything else is pointless, And Chief Jackson does a good job at that. No matter how many laws we make, no matter how many, things you put into place, no matter how smart we think we are and all that, doesn't matter. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our job. And that's pretty cool. So you've had a big part in that, Jim, helping make those decisions, pushing that stuff along. Obviously that stuff was touch and go. It wasn't, the popular thing at the time to do, and it wasn't what everybody or some people seem that they wanted. But these stories that we keep hearing them over and over again. And it just solidifies what this council's about, and the decisions have been made, and your guys' support. And Jim, you've been supportive, of us and the city the whole time, so we thank you for that. So we've got a few things.
One quick question.
Yes.
Has anybody served 12 years consecutively before?
I'm not sure.
So I think he has a record. I think we got
Nelson went 12, didn't he?
Did Mike Nelson go 12?
Mike was going for his, he was going for his third, running for his third.
At least in our lifetime. There might have been time.
There you go.
You never know, but looking at that crew on the wall up there, that's a pretty impressive history right there, huh?
Okay, Jim? Well,
Oh,
I'm
you're
happy to see you. Let's
kidding
go
me.
down there.
Wow, that is cool.
No, you weren't supposed to see it yet. Go
Wait,
down there.
those can't be
I'm
me.
surprised.
We hope that Mary will help let you hang this on the wall at the house.
Absolutely, that is gorgeous.
I turn it around so
Yeah,
we
turn
can
it
all see
around.
Oh, yeah,
We don't
Dallas.
that's cool.
We gotta show the council.
It's a secret what's on
That
it.
is great. Who took that photo, I wonder? No kidding, that's great. I've always been jealous and coveted the photo in the conference
that a
room in there,
ski
so. It's fantastic.
There was almost a runway there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see that you got this engraving on
Yeah,
there
see
too.
that?
That's nice.
That is nice.
Fantastic, thank you so very much. Absolutely.
I wanted to put a big old moose on top of that.
He'll add that later.
It helps downtown.
Who gets to inherit his red jacket?
Thank you so much, guys.
I'd like to say there's a check for, big money.
That is so cool, thank you.
Do one.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
And then someone bring it forward. We got one more thing for you.
I can even see the ski lake in there. Yeah, baby. Blue as can be.
And besides what the city wants to honor you with, we and the friends.
Oh, you guys are too nice.
Also wanted to say thank you for being our colleague, our mentor, our friend, doing so much good for you deals.
Our legal advisor.
So much, I appreciate it.
There's a position of power in it.
Oh, wow.
Not at home, though.
Serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
The card's probably the most important part, but the other thing's fun.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. That is cool. That's great. I always wanted one of these.
We were hoping that.
Thank you, that is so cool.
But the card is the better card.
Yeah, that card is cool. Got a perfect place for that. Wow.
There's important stuff right there.
Holy cow. All right, guys. You have to use it and, oh, man, thank you so much.
There's something in that story that already doesn't.
I so appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate all of it. Oh, thank you. I should have brought the Christmas present for you guys, but I'll have to deliver those on another time. Oh, is there a weird place we want us to go here? Center. Oh, oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Thank you. That is so nice.
Now what?
Oh, yeah, now what? Okay, so, I actually, just got a message, I gotta go pick up a child. So I'm gonna run out and just, you guys run through the administrative reports, if that's okay, Corey? All right, and, yeah. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Sorry, let me just,
Hopefully it's not an emergency.
I think that puts Jim still in charge of the rest of the meeting.
so Jim,
So you can call on people for reports.
hey, don't keep, hey. Casey, not sure you wanna stay till midnight. If you get tired between now and midnight, just take off.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
You're in charge, Jim.
Okay, Chief, you're up, buddy.
I'm very, very fast tonight. Wanted to thank you guys for coming last week to the fire truck push-in, fire engine push-in. I thought that was a neat event. It was good to see you guys there. I think it was neat for our firefighters to see you there. And it's just neat to hear the story we got tonight. Just so you know, the fire engine goes on those medical calls, and when he was going, why is there a fire engine? And it's just another way for them to get there quicker. They jump in that bad boy and get going. But it's an awesome, awesome engine, and they're happy with it, and it looks great, and they're still standing out there just staring at it. So it looks great. So thank you guys for coming to that. A couple neat things that happened in the last week on the police side is Officer Wolfgram finished up his NOVA graduations at all the elementary schools. We probably should be pushing this stuff out. I haven't posted any of this stuff. That was a neat event. So 3 days at our elementary schools, they brought the canines in. We let the new guy take a bite in the bite suit and some things like that. So that was fun. And then Saturday, we had officers down in Spanish Fork at Shop with a Cop. That's a fun event every year.
Sorry, Chief. I feel something important. Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you. Thanks for all you've done this year.
Merry Christmas.
See you, January.
See you later.
And then just lastly, thanks, Jim. Jim's been assigned to public safety and for the last however many years, and I've appreciated your support there. And good luck, and I know we're going to see you down the road, and if you leave something in the road, we'll get it back to you. So appreciate you guys. Hope
Thank
you guys
you,
all have a good
Chief.
holiday. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, no, no.
I guess the Public Works have been moving snow a little bit the last few days. I think they've done a pretty good job. Hopefully, they have a lot more to do this year, but that's about the only thing I can think of other than thank you, Jim, for your service. It is appreciated by everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, we had the Utah League meetings this week, and so a couple updates from there. There's a lot of controversy with some of the legislation we're talking about. So with the bills related to police retirement and allowing police to return to the workforce after there's unfortunately huge costs to cities and to the citizens with the Tier 1 and Tier 2 resolutions that are proposed. We're working on splitting those bills so we can actually get, instead of the 6 months wait, so we can get everything changed up. It's tricky. So they've created a Utah League Public Safety Retirement Working Group, of which I'm a member. We have a couple meetings over the next few weeks so we can get some recommendations to the legislation. I've already requested that they consider, this is Gwen's bill, that we consider splitting those two things. There's controversy about combining legislation on retail incentives and housing requirements. It's sort of just stacking up and adding all these layers. So you have to, there are some members of legislation who believe we should never incentivize retail and that cities should not have the right to use public funds to incentivize retail to come to their cities. So you have people who are on this place of the continuum, and you have some cities who are on this place. And so the league is trying to find the balance on all those, and some members of legislation are more receptive to others. There's been a lot of bending on both ways. The document I saw that was the last draft from December 10th didn't have any context for placemaking, which was one of my concerns as an exemption, that you can't do something that you're, one of the exemptions from the bill would be that I would like to see, that if you're strategically recruiting a retail industry to fill a particular place associated with your economic development plan or something like that, that you can't incentivize that. So it really takes away a lot of freedom from cities. And so today the board voted to task the staff to come up with some different legislation, or excuse me, some different verbiage to propose, but they're going back and forth, and this has a vote, basically a committee vote, January 10th, I think, so we're calling for another league board meeting January 5th to review it, so that'll be interesting, because they're using the county's status and not the city's status, like Mapleton is a fourth-class city. We still have to comply with what the county would have, which is this very prescriptive context. And there are some things they aren't considering. And so if they, commercial realtors, for example, are not real excited about this. So there are other groups that maybe haven't been involved. It hasn't been a lot of public conversation yet. So we're gonna see that kicked back.
I was gonna mention too, as you talk, and looking at this a little bit, is also looking at what bigger cities' opinion is versus smaller communities like us, because that's always been a topic in the past as well.
Yeah, and so the mayors, the big cities, so today we had Salt Lake and Provo on the call, which represent two of our largest cities on the board. Similar feelings. They don't like not having the flexibility to do what they need to do for their cities. They have different opinions than I have about some of the housing that's being prescribed. So, for example, you can incentivize retail to come in if up to 50% of the space is for a minimum of 14 units of affordable housing, essentially, which isn't a fit for everywhere. And so Carrie Malkovich and I, we're from this similar area talking about, okay, well, that's not a fit. That eliminates us from that conversation. Yeah, maybe we don't need that. Whereas that type of thing isn't a big deal for Salt Lake, but they also don't have that much new space. So we're talking about how does redevelopment fit into this? So it's a really tricky one. And there are lots of opinions about that, of course. I have them as well. One of the things we're going to see coming down the pike that I sent over to Corey and Sean today, the Commission on Housing Affordability is putting forth a proposal to eliminate a city's right to impose impact fees on accessory development units, so on ADUs, and there is a whole lot of opinions about that. We didn't even get to it today in our meeting, but I saw their PowerPoint about eliminating impact fees, and it's obviously they're on housing affordability. They're seeing this as one way to promote affordable housing, is to make it easier in that way, but it also negates the fact that there is a real impact of an ADU. So we'll see how that shakes out. My last thing, I wanted to talk about the Youth City Council. The Local Officials Day at the legislature is on January 19th. It is of concern to me that our Youth City Council has not been participating in that. It's an important event for their education, for their exposure, and I believe an obligation from the city to fund their participation in that and promote their participation. When I went up there my first time to see all of the cities and all of their youth there in their city branded polos and the pride they had, I felt sad that our youth weren't there, and so I'd like the council to strongly encourage them. I have reached out, and I know Theron feels the same, that we would be glad to help if there's an issue needing to help with them. I'd recommend for this year at least the officers, because it's $70 per student to register, but
Can I ask a question?
Staff's very supportive of that. Would you like us to reach out to the youth council leaders, or do you want to, as a council member, just start having that conversation?
I've reached out, but because the city would register, who does the Youth City Council report to from a staff perspective?
Myself and Camille.
Okay, so then yes, I would.
Okay,
I
we'll
would
do
want
that.
you to. I don't know what opportunities we have as a council to charge them with participating, but I think it's very important that we show up on the Hill.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
Have they participated in the past? This isn't a new program to go to the ledge. Have they, what's the history there?
Yeah, it's kind of goes back and forth, but Councilmember Egbert's correct. In the last couple of years, they have not. I can't speak for them. The feeling we've got is they went up on a different day, Darren, you might hit on a little bit more. They went up on a different day and taken a tour with Francis Gibson. So, again, on a staff standpoint, we've just followed whatever they would like to do. We're very supportive of them, whatever way they go. But certainly, I'm willing to reach out tomorrow and say, hey, as a council, they would like you to utilize that day that's set up for the purpose you just mentioned.
And since it falls under the city, I mean, this is a city program, I think we could have certain expectations about the participation related to this. If the concerns are related to funding or students getting out of school and transportation or whatever, I think we can solve all those problems. So I hope we will have high expectations about engagement.
Yeah, I think the
But
key is
certainly
gonna.
their advisors will be involved in that discussion, right?
Yeah, and I
That's-
think the key is that the advisors, the leaders have got to promote it. And so that's what I'll talk with, and
I'm done.
I'll just
Councilman
say,
Garrett, you might have some insight
I'll
a
just
little
say,
bit.
I've talked with Joanne and worked with her over the last couple of years on it, and I took the same stance with her. I says, I think it's a very important thing that they do, and she expressed a lot of interest in it, and so I just kind of assumed that she would forward, but never ended up doing it. So I think, and I totally understand their stance is, hey, we get a VIP tour and be able to go up there during the legislation
Which is a cool
with
experience.
Francis,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But the experience that at least I had when the last time I went up there was the same as Councilmember Egbert's, is just a disappointment that our youth weren't there. There were hundreds and hundreds of other youth from other cities, and the participation they get rub shoulders with those other youth, and to see what other cities are doing on the youth city programs.
It's cool. I've been up there a couple
Is a
times
big
when they've been
advantage.
there.
So it was kind of like, whoa, where are we at? You know. So I would agree, if we can do something to help finance, to help make it easier for them to be able to do both. If Francis is going to continue, I mean, if Stephen's going to continue to do that, I don't know if he will or not.
Well,
but
I'm sure they'd be
but
willing to.
I'll
if
reach
we
out
can, if we can
tomorrow.
if we can help them to get to do both, if not a group to go to one
Yeah.
and another group to go to another, maybe, I don't know.
Does the YCC have their own budget? They do have budget money. Okay.
Yeah, the budgets, we'll make that work. That's not the challenge. I'll reach out to the youth leaders tomorrow, and then I'll email you, let you know what came of that.
And I'm happy to help. I plan to go. Does anyone else plan to go?
I think I'm going to go, yeah.
I'll have to see details on it.
Let me know, and then I can.
Did you send us an email?
Yeah, let's send,
Yeah, I'll send out an email.
Okay, thank you.
But I missed it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
I don't have anything, but I do want to say thank you. 12
Oh,
years.
thank you.
A lot of good dedicated service. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Jim, I don't have anything, but thanks.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I just have quick one on with regard to Sumwa. We have we were able to entered into an agreement with Mapleton City for the delivery of water shares to Mapleton through the pipe. So if you see my name on it, it wasn't a conflict of interest. I got approval from the board of Sumwa to sign it on behalf of Sumwa. So, but yeah, that's a good thing that ultimately I think Casey, you'll be following up with at Sumwa, and just we have a large property that will be sold there that will mean funds coming back to the city. We have two offers that Sumwa is considering now. They were going to make some revisions to those offers, and that'll probably be the first thing on the next Sumwa meeting agenda, would be considering that. So that will be good to get that thing finally resolved. But that's the only thing I have, other than just to say it's been a great pleasure. You guys do a wonderful job here, and I can't wait to continue to be involved, and no doubt we'll be able to watch you most likely just via streaming. So I'll keep my eyes on how you guys are doing down here. So thank you. And thanks especially for the city staff and Corey and Camille and everything you guys done, Sean and Chief, and everything that the city does every day that we get to see a little bit more of. And you guys are an amazing city staff, and I'm so we are so blessed, and I just keep my fingers crossed that, you know, the chief and everybody is able to keep everybody here and keep it running so well. So thank you.
I also want to tell you thanks, Jim, and the first interaction I had with Jim was way back when he brought our first referendum.
Yeah, Camille didn't like me at first, I don't think.
But no, I've grown to really like you, and I appreciate.
But
how
think
you
of
do it.
all that you learned from that experience.
I know, and I've learned so much from you.
Thank you.
Done so much for the city, so thank you.
And you have learned so much, and I've seen Camille grow so much in all that she's had to put up with and do since I first came aboard, so thank you.
I just add to it too, you know, one thing I've been thinking about you, Jim, you're just a good friend, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you've been a good example to our community and to the staff, and just a neat person.
So appreciate that.
Two quick items on my side. I'll send an email in the next couple days. We're finalizing some ideas with the retreat, and we'll send you a couple of dates to look at. One, middle January, we want to be sensitive to the meetings that are up at the Capitol, and then a consideration maybe into February, middle of February. So I'll send you those dates, and then we can kind of look at those. We were considering the idea of a half day, like on a Wednesday, maybe like from 1 to 4, and then the next day from like 8 to 3 or something. So very sensitive, though. I know in years past, we've just stayed at 1 day to kind of help with your work assignments, et cetera. So if we want to say, hey, no, let's just keep it at 1 day, we can do that. If we do a 2-day, we were still considering just staying local, finding a location just still around here, so you could come home in the evening if we do it that way. So I'll send you some dates on that. And then Dallas is finalizing those assignments for 2022, and we'll have, he should have those wrapped up by the end of the week too, so we'll get those out to you as well. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay, we'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're trying to change that to you. I never understood that. Just make it consistent. I know, I never understood that. Me too. Why do I have to memorize this? Why do they go in this order of their approvals? And why do-